Now, the next speaker is known throughout the country, Mr. Lehman Brightman. I never know whether I'm going to be booed or what. I was talking to some people out in front earlier. They asked me if I was going to say anything different. They've been to 3 of my talks in different parts of the country, and I said the same thing. I don't think we can go into any parts of the country without saying the same thing. Really, you get down to some of our basic problems we have. You find out the high unemployment rates, goddamn bad health, the discrimination that we face. It's the same thing all over. It varies in degree, the discrimination we face. I'll give you an example of what goes on in this country. Some of you Indian people here, maybe you haven't been discriminated against. I've had some Indian people tell me that they've never been discriminated against. Well, these dumb bastards evidently live in a vacuum, or either they've been in a goddamn enclosed area all their life, because they goddamn sure haven't been out in the cities, and they haven't been out in urban areas, in the goddamn reservation areas. Last week I was on the Navajo reservation. I was asked to come down there and give a talk. And that is one of the worst states in the Union for racism. I sent, for those of you who don't know, I'm not only just a screamer and a holler, I guess, as people label me. I'm the director of the Indian Studies program at the University of California. And I can't speak without vulgarity. I know a lot of people have asked me that. I told one white woman who came up to me after a talk one day and asked me why I cuss so much. And I said, well, I have an inadequate vocabulary. She walked away just pleased as hell. Well, there's another dumb Indian. That's a typical reaction from some of these Caucasians. If you'll check, there are no cuss words in any of the Indian languages. It's all in English. So those of you people here today, if I have to slip and cut for some of us, I wouldn't be offended because it's all in English. So I was going to say I was on the Navajo reservation, and while we were there, they were preparing for the centennial that they put on each year in Gallup, where they exploit Indians by paying them $5 and $6 a day for dancing and singing. And they get their money back twofold, because they sell them cheap wine and then they arrest them when they get drunk. That jail, they had 211 people in the jail that could accommodate 40. 211 they had there. They furnished no medical attention. They only had dishes for 40 people. They only had beds for 40. No extra blankets. They had to use 10 cups to drink out of and what have you. And they gave them sentences for drinking 30, 60, and 90 days, repeatedly. These people slept under the beds and on the floors and what have you. They decided not to set up a bolt out there and not to really get aggressive there. They said they were going to hand out leaflets and so forth. And a few of them did picketing. Well, we had made arrangements to bring AIM, the Cleveland Indian Center, UNA, and a bunch of other Indian organizations down to help these people. But they said that they didn't think they needed the help at the time. But anyway, some of my students from the University of California who went there told me they went over to buy a bottle of booze one night, and a carload of white people drove up. And there was an Indian woman sitting in a pickup. Her husband was over buying some beer. And one of these white boys walked out of the car, got up, picked up a bottle, and broke it against the Indian woman's pickup. There was one Indian youth there, one of our students, with about 6 girls, and he jumped out of the car. About that time, the other 6 white guys that were sitting in this car jumped out and said, "What are you going to do, Indian?" And he said they bought a snow cone while they were there, and the white people told him, "Don't bother coming back." They got abused physically and mentally all the time they were there by these white people in Arizona. They made my ticket out wrong. When I flew in from Gallup, I was going back to San Francisco, and I stopped in Albuquerque. And the ticket agent made my ticket out to Los Angeles instead of San Francisco. I went over and I told him about it. He gave me some gulp, and I told him where to go and how to get there. And he called the police. The goddamn policeman there, and that, he said, the time. They were going to arrest him for cussing. What do you say? He's goddamn